Alright guys, so now that we have already finished the introduction to the user interface, we have explored many of these panels that we have here on the screen, and we have worked our way through the tools. I guess you have already had the time to explore more and test those tools and work around these. So we are going to now set up the default layout of our scene, and I will show you how to create this layout and saved it as your default interface whenever you open a new project or you start something new in Blender. You don't have to reactivate all the add-ons or redo all the sections or settings that you have already selected in previous project. This will help you moving on in your projects or your daily basis work. This will save you time, and once you have done this, you will be set for life. Okay, so first of all, there is some couple of add-ons that you need to activate by default in order to facilitate your work. So you need to go to the edit section, open the preferences, then you need to search first of all of the node wrangler. The node wrangler will help you manipulate nodes more efficiently. Nodes can be found in the shading editor tab, or even in compositing, or there is the geometry node also that contains nodes. So node based workflow is very helpful and very easy to pick up, but you need to activate the node wrangler in order for you to use this more efficiently. Also, going back to that add-on section, we need also to activate the loop tools. You just type in loop, you click that, and you have this loop tools menu. To access that tools, you just click any object, you select any object from the scene, it preferably to be a mesh object, and then you go to the object mode. You can toggle and switch between those either by typing tab on the keyboard or shift tab. So if I type in tab, it will take me directly to the edit mode instead of the object mode. And then if I click on the right mouse button here, I will have this menu that has many options, but the loop tool will be available on the top here, and this will be helpful for you to get more specific functions within the software. So let's say I'm gonna select or hit Shift R, which is the shortcut for Control R. Sorry, it's a shortcut for creating loop tools or loops, like edge loops on the mesh. You can click that and then drag over to change the position, or hit escape to just keep it in that place. I will change the position of this so you can see the shortcuts. So let's keep it. Let's keep it on the right, so you can see it here. So now if I add another loop cut and have this point, I can then select this vertex by either clicking here on the menu. So you have vertex, edges, and faces, or click on the number 1 on the top of your keyboard. So to number 1, 2, and 3 to switch between those. You can find this in information here, the shortcut, or you can find this in the documented shortcuts menu on the Blender Foundation. So just select this and hit Shift and B, which is bevel. Control Shift and B for vertex, and Shift and B for edges. So for vertex, we're gonna click Control Shift and B, and we will drag to have this beveled. You can scroll up or down your wheel mouse to add more vertex around. So if I roll my mouse up, I will have this level of subdivisions there. And if I right click and open the loop tool menu, I can have this turned into a circle, and then I can hit E to extrude up and down and create holes in my mesh. So this is helpful. This add-on is helpful for you, so you need to activate this when you start like working. So let's go back to the initial state here, get out of the edit mode, and the next add-on that you need to activate by default in Blender, there is many add-ons, but I guess something else will be helpful, is the bool tool. This will grant you access to other like tools here. So this will be very helpful to quick like modeling. So if I duplicate this cube by clicking Shift and D and moving this around, I can then like access the menu on the left and use different boolean like operations to modify the mesh. So I can use like difference, and that will exclude this, or union. I must have click like Ctrl Z once the option is applied is fully destructible, so there is no other way like to keep this accessible. So if you click this, it will be applied directly to your mesh. So you can like insert, slice that, union that, which is gonna merge. You can like also use difference if you want to have this stay, as I said, like you have this as non-destructive way. You're gonna use the brush boolean, and that will give you like basically a boolean operation with this wireframe shape, so you can know like you can manipulate the object and know where it exists exactly. So as I said, you need, if you want to change or select another operation method, you need to go back and redo that again. This will be a quick way to apply like different like modification to your object, but keeping this in mind, this will be a destructive way of working. There is no way to go back and choose another options or modify the operation that you have already applied. Okay, so moving on with this, we will start now to create some scene setup, a basic one. So we will do what any 3D artist will do. At that position, we will select everything by clicking A, and we will delete this. Now to start creating the scene from scratch, and we will do Shift A, create a plane. So the plane is created in another position because, as I said, like it will be added to the placement of your 3D cursor. So if I want to snap this to the middle of the scene again, I will hit Shift plus S, open this pie menu, and use cursor toward origin, and that will resnap my cursor to the middle of the grid. Then hitting Shift S again, and then I will move the selection to cursor. Now I have this here. I will hit scale and drag over to enlarge this, and then I will hit tab to access the edit mode. I need to hit 2 or select the segment selection from here. I will select this segment at the back, and then I will hit E on the keyboard and extrude, and hit Z to extrude to snap this to the Z axis. This height will be good. Then select this segment that we have already created, and then like hit Control B on the keyboard to bevel this. Now no need to click anything, just drag your mouse around and scroll up or down to get more details or more subdivision added to that edge. If you click the left mouse button, you will confirm this, but you will still have this menu here that will give you more options. You can change the profile, the number of segments, the shape itself. You can have this concaved or reversed if you want to, but we'll keep this at 0.5. Also you have the width and many other details. You can change even the profile if you select the custom here, and you can add point where there is a curve, and you can move this around to get specific shapes, but we will stick with the standard one. This is good for us. We need this ramp here to act as our like backdrop for our studio setup. So after this, we will still see these lines here. We need to remove this by left or right click on the object selected and shade this smooth. This will fix the shading of the object. Now that we have created already the backdrop, we need to add like cameras and lights. So first of all, I would like to add an object as a reference here. So let's add, like, let's say Shift A and add a sphere. I'm gonna move this up, and this is just for reference. Then shade this smooth. So now we need to add the camera. Shift A and place a camera. The camera is already placed at the 3D cursor, so if we want to change the placement of the camera, we can like use the usual method of moving this around, or we can have more options by accessing the side menu here. Go back to the view tab. There is this snap camera to view. You can check this, and now if you hit 0 or on the numpad or click this button here, you're gonna go to the viewport, the camera view, and you can like manipulate this as you manipulate your 3D scene. So hold the middle mouse button to rotate around. You can pan by clicking Shift and middle mouse, and then you can scroll up and down to zoom in and out. Or you can do that whenever without accessing the viewport or checking this. You can like go back to the scene view, and you can manipulate the view that you want, and then you can like click the shortcut Control plus Alt plus 0 to snap the camera to the view. We can also like use Command Option and 0 on the Mac. So now that we have placed the camera already, we can change the options of the camera by accessing this menu here, and we can change this either to from perspective to orthographic, so this will be completely flat, or panoramic. This will have the effect of fish eye, if you understand what I mean, this extreme like perspective. But we're gonna stick to the normal perspective one for now, and have this for our product like visualization. We would like to have this as the focal length to be relatively long, so starting from 80 millimeter and up, so preferably this will be good at 100 millimeter. So this what we gonna put there. Then we go back to the view menu, or even select the camera to zoom out and click G and double Z to zoom in on the axis and move it back like that. So we can also like reduce the visibility of the surrounding by going to the viewport display menu here and hitting the passepartout. You can increase that value to black out all the surroundings and get only the view camera whenever you click the camera. You can see everything else is pitch black. Also, you can reduce that based on the need. You can also access other options here, the limits and other details, by clicking these checkpoints. The limits here will help you like define the focal point of the depth of field. So if you place this here, you can see that if I left click here and move this from side to side or up and down, this will move, and that will affect the depth of field on the scene. But we can see the depth of field right now because this hasn't been activated on the view style. So we need to click this arrow here to access this option and activate the depth of field. You can also activate cavity, which will give you like more definition if you have details. I will replace this sphere with Suzanne monkey. This will give us more visibility. So if I move this, rotate it, something like that. So now if I go back and activate cavity, it will give us more definition. So this might help you if you want to. I would like to move on without it, but let's move on. So after I have already activated like the depth of field, you can see that this limit already, this cross affects the sharpness or the focal point of the camera. So if I just, no need to hit G or use the move here, you just left click and drag this over, but it's better to do that out of the camera. So you can do that like that, and you can place this cross on your objects and move it around if you want to. You can also animate this if you want to. As I said, everything is can be animated. So we're gonna click here, delete, and then I can animate this either from there, or I guess the better options is to have this from the menu here. You can animate this position, then move it around and click again. You must also like move the timeline, scroll in the timeline, move this around and click I again on the keyboard, and that will give you some animation. But we don't need that now, so I'll get rid of this. Okay, so we'll try to get more details about the camera now. We can also pick objects from the scene to make those as the focus point or by just clicking this droplet and choosing the object. You can also like increase the amount of blurriness by decreasing this f-stop value. So the lower it goes, the more blurry the background will be. But there is a limit. If we're gonna like replicate the real camera, the real physical camera, we need like to stick to the real world values. I guess the smallest value available will be like 1.4 if you want to, but the standard one is okay now, so no need to go beyond that. We can also like create empty to control like the focal point or even like the direction of the camera. So I can like hit Shift A and create an empty. I would prefer to create, let's say, a cube. Move that up, and then we can make that the focus point. So if we move this around, it will follow the value will follow like the distance between this object and the camera. Also, we can add a constraint to the camera, so it will always look to that direction of the cube empty. So we can gonna add like track 2 constraint and pick that empty. You can either pick it from the scene here or from the outliner. If you have some difficulties like distinguishing the desired object from within the viewport, you can pick this from the outliner here, and we can select this empty. And now if we move the camera, it's selected, but if we move it, it will always look in the object direction. This will be very helpful later. This is small setup that gonna like make you move easier and manipulate your scene easier. You can also have another empty if you want to. So I can either duplicate this by Shift D, then scale it up, and I can select the camera, then select the newly created empty and hit Ctrl P to parent this to the empty. So then if I move the empty, I'm gonna use like keep transform to keep the camera there. If I move the empty or rotate it, it will affect the position of the camera. So I will remove the camera. Now I don't need like to rotate the object in the scene. I just can rotate the camera itself. I can also parent the backdrop to that empty itself, so it will always have the same setup. So okay, I will hit Ctrl P, keep transform, go back to the camera view. Now if I rotate this, it will always have the background at the same position. So now we can also add a light. For the studio setup, I guess one light will be enough for you to highlight the scene effectively, but you can add additional like lights to have like the rim effect or fill light effect, or you can like create 3-point lighting setup if you want to. But for us, for our way of working, I guess one main light will be enough. So hitting Shift A and adding light. I prefer area light. So we're gonna move this to the side. Our studio setup will always like, or most of the time, have the light coming from the top right corner and hitting the object directly. So I move this light to the right side, a bit angled, and if you want this light to follow the cursor, there is a small shortcut that can help you do that. You can hit Shift T to position your light, and it will follow your mouse within the screen. So you can rotate this and make it like face the object. And also what I prefer to do is to add the same constraint and make it follow the smallest one as we did for the camera, and also parent this light to the empty of the scene. Okay, now that we have already added a light, now we can dive into the render setup, and we can go to the render viewer. The scene is too dark because first of all we are using the wrong engine here. We're gonna move to the cycles. This is the ray tracing engine, so it's preferable to use this as it gives more accurate results. So we're gonna shade smooth the object, and we do have like so small amount of light coming from here, so we need to add this, let's say value of 500. And now the more that you increase this value, the more it's gonna lit up your scene. So you can either like drag and like hold and drag, or even type in. I would prefer like to type in something, let's say 2000. Then I will select this monkey and maybe add some details so we can get some smooth shading. We can add modifier subdivision surface here, 2 levels, and now we can see if there is like some curvature, and we can see how the light hitting that. Also, going back to the render settings, I would like to activate the denoiser within the viewport. That will help you to see a better clean result faster. Also decrease the amount of samples, as we don't need this high value. 50 or maybe 100 is good to quickly see the results. Also we need to go down there and go to the light paths. Here we can add a specific number of samples to each layer of rendering, or each option. We can add more details to the diffuse separately, the glossiness, the transmission, the volume, transparent, and we can also go down and remove these caustics, as it will only like slow down our render time. We don't have any transparent, let's say, object or glass object within the scene by default, so no need to have this activated. And we just need to go back there, up here. We're gonna change the denoiser options here, and we're gonna go reduce the samples first. I think going above like 1024 will be too much for any scene that we are rendering, because it's already like giving too much information. And depending on the performance of your workstation, you might need like to even lower this. I get the good ground, like to get a decent result, will be like 256. Also try to avoid like having this as not odd numbers, but not multiples of 2, like, so it's either like 2, 4, 8, 16, and going like that. This will help like the system to calculate more efficiently the samples. Also we can change the denoiser options here. As I said, we can use the optics, and we can change this to albedo only, as we don't need normals here. Also we must go to the preference tab and open this system options and go to the optics. Here we does have like the options to use the GPU and the CPU for calculating and processing the image rendering, so that will help us like get more power and performance out of our systems. Then we're gonna close this and get back here. Here you need like to select by default the GPU, as it's more powerful and faster to calculate. So this will be the options. Cycle supported. You can use experimental, but I don't recommend that, but as it might like crash your projects and might lose data here. So keep that supported. You choose the GPU compute, reduce the samples here. Also we can like go and change this threshold. What this does is basically, let's say this is a value to 100%, so having this at 001 means that this is at 1% of the noise sampling. So when it reaches 1% of the noise sampling, it will stop calculating more samples. So this will give us a way to limit the sample calculation. So even if you have this, like let's say for 2000 or like more than that, like the number of sampling will stop as soon as we reach like 1% of noise in the render. So having this too low is too much, so we can get this between 3 and 5. I think 0.5 is good. This is decent. You can change that later, but this is the first one. Also there is the film section. The fill section will help you if you want to get rid of the background, if you want to have a transparent scene, so you only want to have this object. If you let's say hide the background, this is selected here. So as it's already all of these are parented to the same empty, you're gonna find this under this drop menu under the empty itself. So if you don't see something that you already selected, it must have some sort of highlight here. If you see that, you go to that object and open the drop menu, and you can find like specific objects that you are looking for. Also you can, as I said, type in the name. If you are naming your objects properly, this will help you more to organize and find objects quicker. And also you can hit the dot button on the keyboard, the number pad, and that will already take you to the selected objects. Also you can do that in the scene. If you went too far and you want to go back, no need like to just pan over. You just hit like point and it takes you back to the object. You can say select Suzanne, let's say here, and click point, and it will take you there. Okay, so where we were at, so as I said, if you want like transparent background, you can like hide this for now, but whenever you render, this will be not transparent. You can see that later. If we gonna render, you can hit like 12 on the keyboard, like F12 on the keyboard, to start rendering a single image, and you can hit Control plus F12 to render animation. We're gonna hit the F12 to render a single image here, and it will always show the the backdrop. First of all, we need like to hide this from the rendering also. So this is from the viewport and this is from the render. If you want to hide something from viewport, you can also click H for hide or Alt H for reveal back. So I'm gonna hit H and remove this also from render and go back and hit F12 to render this. It will always like show the color of the background, the color of the environment here. So let us reduce this size, move this here. So here we have this gray color. If we change this to any other color, it will first of all affect like the lighting of the object, because it will cast like light over this object as an ambient lighting. Also, it will always appear as the background by default, unless you go back to this option, the film option here, and you click transparent. Now it will not appear on the render. So if I hit F12, it will always be transparent. So if you want to like save PNGs or separate your objects and render those like separately, you need always to check that this transparent checkbox is selected. And you can also like select transparent glass if you have glass materials or glass objects that you want to see through whenever rendering and see no background behind it. We will display this later when we tap in like the shading section, but for now this is just for let's say heads up. Okay, we go back and move forward using this performance. This is more advanced, but I would prefer like to have this persistent data activated if we are using animation in our scene, because this might help like to calculate or import all the data or of all object within our scene and make it cached only once, so no need for each frame to be recalculating all the existing meshes within the scene. So this will have this saved and you just gonna render new frames without new calculations. But for now, if you're gonna render like single images, we need to stick with this off. Also keeping the viewport pixel size automatic, that's gonna check your pixel size depending on the screen that you have, and choose the right options for you. We gonna also tap into the simplify option. This is more helpful to make your scene even lighter on the memory on the system, so you will like manipulate your scene faster. You can set the max subdivision level here. I would like to have this, if my system is not too powerful, I would like to have this not more than 3 for the viewport and maybe 6 or whatever you want for the render section. You can have this even more as 12 if you have more details. You can also set limit for the texture size. We can have this at not more than 2K for the viewport, and we can leave it without no limit for the render, as we want like maximum details in the render. Also, the culling is very helpful. The camera culling will give you the option. Let's go to the top. So it will give you already the option to crop, let's say, from calculation. Like the system can understand that it won't need to calculate anything that's out of the range of the camera. So if the camera select this, go here and maybe activate, not sure from where, but let's say this is this is the field of view of the camera. So anything like past the sides or the top of bottom of that view will not be calculated. So this will take a huge load of your processing, and your system will run even faster. So if you face in the future an issue with that said like GPU out of RAM or out of memory, that might like contribute to this option not activated. So just get back to there. As I said, camera culling and simplify will help you like reduce the memory usage. Now this is basically, I guess, the most of our rendering setting, except for this color management. This you might tap in and out of this too often, but for now let's stick with for this like 3.6 version of Blender. There has been like only this filmic option. Other than that, starting from the 4.0, you have AGX, the AGX like color management profile that gives you more accurate result regarding to the light values. So you won't have like images burned out or like overexposed. So it will give you like more details whenever there is a spot of light or highlight on the product. So if you have details that you want to highlight through, you want to be shown through the highlights, the AGX will help you more. And I guess there is a new other color management profile that has been added to the newest version, the 4.1 and above, I guess 4.2, that is more accurate. So you need to add this, and maybe also change the look to something more contrasty. So let's go back to this. Let's get this back to normal. Let's have our backdrop, and now we can see, as I said, go back to the color management, and by changing this profile, this look, this will change the contrast. So if you have this very high, it will give us more contrast, like more darker areas and more lighter areas. You can change that, but I think keeping this as medium high contrast is better for having more details in the darker areas. So I do that by default. Also, keeping this exposure and gamma as standard is enough for now. So this is like the render setup, and we will move to the next setup in the next video.